I'm at a loss for words when it comes to describing Christopher Nolan's Tenet, which I did go see today, one of the most anticipated films of the year, and rightfully so. This movie, I don't even know where to start. First of all, this is going to be a non-spoiler review because a lot of you guys aren't able to see this movie now because of the fact that with COVID going on, movie theaters have not reopened everywhere in the United States or even across the world. And I want to tell y'all that this is a film that needs to be watched with as little spoilers as possible. Avoid spoilers for this movie because literally the entire plot, well, not the entire plot, but a big portion of the plot relies on unpredictability. And if you are familiar with Christopher Nolan's body of work, then you know that that should be nothing new. This movie takes elements from films like Inception and Christopher Nolan's real masterpiece, Memento, his first true, major film, one of my favorite movies of all time, and kind of reapplies them in a very unique and different way. This movie is difficult to describe because it's both a crime film as well as a science fiction film and an action film. And it does have elements of time travel, but the way that time travel is utilized in this movie is like no other movie I've ever seen in my entire life. It's a totally different concept of time travel, something that is really nerdy when you break it down, but also made sense to me. However, the movie itself, albeit brilliant, this is a brilliant movie, it's not perfect. This is going to be one of those movies that's going to take a couple viewings to watch and to really understand. There's parts of this film that are very, very confusing, and although I did my best to keep up, it does require multiple viewings, plus you'll appreciate the Easter eggs more, but it's one of those things where you have to remember that with this type of film, it's very fast-paced, it's very info dump heavy, so characters talk fast, and you have to keep up fast, you know what I mean? And so things happen that get referenced later, earlier in the film, and so on and so forth, and it's just a very well-made movie, but also one that does require multiple viewings to be fully appreciated. I definitely want to go see this movie again. This film stars John David Washington and Robert Pattinson as the two main characters, and really John David Washington is the protagonist, which will come up in the movie itself, and his charisma is what kind of carries the film, because he's on screen more than any other character, and his charisma and his on-screen presence makes him a likable character, and also you're following his journey as he tries to unravel these mysteries. Apparently, it took Christopher Nolan 10 years to make this film because obviously some of the editing tricks that were used in this film, some of the effects were borrowed from Memento, which he made 20 years ago, except with much more modern cinematography. But to actually, as I'm watching this movie, I'm just sitting there in the movie theater and I'm like, how do you come up with an idea like this? Was Nolan just reading science books? Was he watching old school sci-fi, old Outer Limits episodes? Because it takes elements from stuff like that, but in such a unique way and a unique twist. I've never seen a movie that tackles this subject the way this movie does. But if you want action, there's tons of it here. I mean, guys, the opening sequence of this film, this sort of SWAT team operation in this opera, just the opening sequence of the film is already just amazing. It really does remind me of the classic Nolan opening sequences, for example, the one from The Dark Knight, with the bank robbery. The way he shoots it, the way that he sort of follows, the leads with the camera behind them, kind of have that third-person view, and then sort of changing angles. And it's definitely a Nolan film. It's going to be well shot, well directed. The guy is an incredible talent. I mean, he always has been. Christopher Nolan has never made a bad movie, and this one is right up there with, it's a brilliant film. I, on Twitter, said it was a masterpiece, and I probably have to watch it one more time, but I do feel like from this first viewing, I think it's still a masterpiece. It's just that there are some questions I have after leaving the theater where I'm a little bit it's very confusing. But if you're into stuff like quantum physics and things like that, you'll pick up on it more. But I don't think it's confusing enough to where you're just scratching your head for most of it. But it does require, like I said a couple times already, a couple of viewings. I really don't want to say too much here, but I will say the film is very unpredictable. However, there was one twist in the film that I did see coming, but it was one that I was pleasantly happy that I knew because it made sense. It was something that happens earlier in the film that gets referenced later. And, Nolan does the whole, you know what? I don't even want to tell you because it's going to kind of ruin that. So let me just not say anything. I just don't want to say anything. Okay. Basics, all right? It's well acted, well shot, tremendous effects, tremendous cinematography, a little long in the tooth, a little bit too much of an info dump in some parts. Some parts are, they drag a little bit. It's not a perfect film. It's not as good as Memento in my opinion, but when it comes to being brilliant, inventive, imaginative, unique, thought-provoking, like films like Inception and, even Interstellar, this is right up there. Christopher Nolan's going to be remembered in history as one of the most intelligent filmmakers that we've ever had. Because these movies are literal not literal, but figurative mind fucks. I mean, you're going to walk out that theater like, whoa, what did I just see? But not in a bad way. Not in a negative way. Even though I think some folks, this movie's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. It's not. If you like brainless action or just superhero comic book movies or simple comedies, this is not for you. This is not a very good date movie either. This is a movie where when you go see the film, you got to focus and pay attention because they explain things. There's sci-fi in there and you got to kind of focus. So it's not a very good date film, but it is a very good thought-provoking thriller and one that we're going to be talking about for years to come. I do predict this film will be talked about, dissected, analyzed for years to come. I don't want to say much more than that. I will probably be doing a spoiler review on this video, on this movie at some point. I'm not sure because I really want to watch this movie again. It needs to be watched again because there's a lot of stuff I missed and I might talk to my friends about it who have seen it. If you're going to see this movie, I do suggest seeing it in IMAX with the loudest possible surround system. If you have Dolby in your area, see it. If you can't see the film yet because of your quarantining, go see it whenever it's available. I have friends of mine in California who are going to be driving to Vegas to go watch this film, and it's worth the drive. It's about a 3-hour drive. It's actually worth the drive. I would never say that. How could a movie be worth the drive, 3-hour drive? This one is, especially if you make it a whole weekend. If you go out there, you have dinner, you meet up with some friends, you watch multiple movies, then it's worth the trip. For one movie, it's probably not. But this movie's 2 hours and 30 minutes of just thought-provoking, mentalist entertainment. And yeah, if you like Inception, you'll like this movie. Anyways, with that being said, I don't want to say anything more about this film. Trying to keep it spoiler-free. No spoilers here. Just well-acted, well-performed. This is going to get nominated for an Oscar without question. Will it win? I don't know. It's a weird year for that, but I can't see it not getting nominated. It's definitely different than Dunkirk, that's for sure. But just a great movie. Great movie. Anyways, with that being said, I'm going to end this review. Thank you for watching. And yeah, go see this movie. Trust me.